This may be a controversial take, but it really shouldn't be. LeBron James recently criticized ring culture, called it weird, and though I'm agreeing with him in some sense, I'm not going to be defending LeBron. Kind of like the bubble championship, my approach on that's kind of I'm going to tackle this one. I actually didn't care to talk about LeBron's take on this. I do feel like he shouldn't really be saying anything. He hopped on multiple teams. But I do feel like ring culture has gotten out of hand. Since he brought it up, and I saw something on First Take that really made me want to make a video about this, here I am talking about it. Recently, Stephen A. Smith has some pretty weird takes on Giannis. So I'm going to share them with you now, and then I'm going to get into my thoughts.
Underachiever. I'm going to tell you why. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. 9 All-NBA selections in his career, 9 All-Star selections, and top 10 finishes in league MVP voting 9 times. And he has more of that than postseason series wins. That's unacceptable. You don't look at somebody that dominant, that fantastic, with that kind of fire in his belly to compete on a night-in, night-out basis, and all you have is one championship to show for it.
Paging J. Will.
Well,
he's sitting next to me on TV. It looks like I pointed the wrong way.
paging to me.
Yeah. I'm old.
That was one of your worst takes I've heard in a long time, man. That was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
The Milwaukee Bucks have underachieved, or are the biggest underachievers with the talent of Giannis. Fair. But a guy who has a 50-point closeout game, a guy who's never chased any of these dream team scenarios, a guy who is a finals MVP.
And I'm just going to jump in right here for a quick second. I forgot to go over this in the first go-around. So during the flashback in that previous video, Stephen A. Smith was basically saying Giannis needs to leave Milwaukee. And that's why he's saying that one championship is not enough for him.
It's not enough
For him. That he needs to go elsewhere and win more championships. And that's the big pushback for me, because isn't that the pushback on LeBron James and some of the criticism you might have gave him? And I know you didn't give Kevin Durant that same criticism, more so because the Warriors beat him. But isn't that the problem, that players are leaving teams to go to other teams just to win championships? And so, one, if that's a problem and you're pushing that problem, that's kind of hypocritical. 2, it's just wrong, maybe even sabotage-like. But another thing about this is, and it's kind of the overall point of the video, okay, it's important to look at Giannis and what he does if he doesn't leave this team, no matter what he does, and appreciate it in that sense. If he just goes and wins another championship on another stacked team, how much can we really respect that championship? Now, there's always going to be levels. How much you respect LeBron's championships versus Kevin Durant's championships. Even though they're similar, there's also a difference. And so that does matter. But if we're just going to make up championships and artificially create championships, which Stephen A. Smith has criticized LeBron James of doing,
You're a mercenary. That's what you are.
then what are we really doing here? To say he needs to leave to win more rings is not right. If you know the game of basketball, you can just say this guy is as good as this guy, flat out. Again, he does talk about KD later. We saw what KD did, and KD basically, if he would have just stuck in Oklahoma and he would have just won one championship, he would most likely, I'm pretty sure by everybody, would have more respect for him than just the 2 championships he has now. And even if he possibly never won a championship, but he got back to the finals, he'd probably be considered the same player that he is right now. So, I mean, this hopping teams thing, it's not that beneficial, ask Kevin Durant.
Championship on your resume, people are not going to look at you the same. Perfect example, case in point, is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has won a league MVP 3 or 4.
He goes on to say that it's not necessarily fair, but that's what's going to be said about him. And he goes on to also say Kevin Durant also needs more rings. And that he also said that about Kevin Durant. Well, Kevin Durant, real quick, first of all, that's cap. I remember back in the days, Max would criticize Kevin Durant's championships, and Stephen A. wasn't going for it. He was pushing the narrative that Kevin Durant was better than LeBron James at that time. Anyone with like any type of sense knew that wasn't the case, and here he is trying to backpedal now. It's Kevin Durant and how he got his rings. If he just had 2 rings, it's a whole different conversation. Then we ask how he got those rings, etc. What was his performances? That's a big point in winning championships. First of all, you can't just count a ring because your performance matters, your team matters. That stuff does matter. The era you played in also does matter. A lot of people don't consider Bill Russell the GOAT simply because he played in the 60s. Other people, including myself, look at his team and his responsibilities as well. Iconic performances, what you bring to the game, that stuff matters. But let's move on to Giannis, because that's what the video is about. Now, if we're going to say Giannis needs more championships to be in the GOAT conversation, I think I could agree with that. Are we going to start placing that Shaq responsibility on him now, where he kind of has to be like Shaq and he should be better than everybody? Is that what we're saying? I don't think that's what we're doing here. And so when we say he's going to be an underachiever, that's kind of hard to really say. He has a championship. He has a Defensive Player of the Year. He has a Finals MVP. He has the stats. He's improved his game. So what is it about him being an underachiever? He has 1 championship. Okay. In my opinion, you could swap Giannis with multiple teams in the NBA, their best players, and Giannis could win a championship. It's a situational thing. Now, like Jay Will says later in the video, Patrick Ewing, Iverson, Barkley, even guys with 1 ring, are they underachievers? No, they're not underachievers. At least most of them aren't. And to be honest, a good amount of them are overachievers. An example, Iverson, a small guard, was able to make the finals, carry his team, what a lot of people consider a really bad team, a really bad supporting cast. He did make the finals, he did win MVPs, separating himself from other players in certain seasons. Chris Paul, one of the greatest point guards of all time. Some people have him 5, 10, 3, some people have him 1. Wherever you have Chris Paul, the big thing about Chris Paul, okay, he has 0 championships. When you watch his game, he's a lot better than a lot of guards who do have championships. And not only that, his teams weren't as good as some guards who have championships. His health is another reason why he doesn't have much championships. I'm a guy who respects Isaiah Thomas's game heavily. But the thing about Isaiah Thomas is, when you go back and watch the Pistons, his team was actually really, really good. And if he had a team like Chris Paul's, I highly doubt he makes 3 straight finals like he did. A lot of people say Kevin Garnett was just as good as Tim Duncan when they were playing. And if you saw them play in their primes, or if you just watch the videos like I do, it is really close. And though I do prefer Tim Duncan in certain seasons, again, it is really close. This was actually pretty funny. Someone set the tone here. I have this going on, this game going on right here, making a video, top 10 players of the 2000s. And so I have this going on in the background while I'm editing my video. And just so happened that they said this about Kevin Garnett.
Loose ball and it comes back and sits there and it goes right at Andrew Bynum, who really was out of position that time defensively.
You know what I'm looking at Kevin Garnett? He's a superstar, but the greatest thing I can say, Kevin Garnett is a teammate. And by that I mean he doesn't try to play like a superstar. He just competes every time. 19 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks. Everything he does is about winning. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a supporting cast around him, but he just consistently goes out and plays. He's not one of those Kobe Bryant type guys who's going to go get 40, 50, 65 points in a game. But if you put enough personnel around him, you're going to have a chance to win every night.
Well, he's one of those guys, I think everyone would agree. He's the kind of guy that, we all want to see get that opportunity at some point in his career to play for a world championship. Only got as far as the Western Conference Finals once. Every other year it's really been first round and done if they even get into the playoffs. So you hope Kevin Garnett at some point gets the opportunity, either here or somewhere else, to have a chance to win a title.
Minnesota trying to turn up.
And so Tim Duncan, or Kevin Garnett that is, who has one championship with the Celtics when he was teamed up, but no championships by himself, is Kevin Garnett an underachiever? Definitely not. Kevin Garnett, you could argue, in the San Antonio system, wins just as much championships as Tim Duncan. Not only is this player one of the most underrated players, he is also my favorite player, Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, how many championships, even though he played in the Michael Jordan era, would he have won if his supporting cast was at least as good as some of the Charles Barkley teams? If his supporting cast was just better than the teams he has, as I'll show you some stats here. They're pretty similar to LeBron's Cavs in 07, and those a different era, and I understand that. Realistically, how many championships, especially when you look at the previous years when he didn't win those championships in the 80s and early 90s, how many times would you say he could have won those championships realistically? Not many. The year Michael Jordan left the NBA, Patrick Ewing, the guy who lost to Michael Jordan multiple times, instantly made the finals because the greatest was gone. Though he ran into another great of his own, at the end of the day, you could sit here and say Patrick Ewing's teams, if they were better, maybe he wins more championships. If he was in a better situation, he has the ability, the skill set, to have more rings. Me personally, I look at winning over rings. Now, winning in some degree is getting rings, but you can't always win and get a ring. Like, how much do you actually help your team to win the game? Whether it be off-ball responsibilities, offensive responsibilities, defensive responsibilities. Are you an enforcer? Do you set the tone? Things like that matter. Are you clutch? And there are many winners that don't have rings or don't have enough rings or people will consider them winners. Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Michael Jordan isn't the GOAT because he has 6 championships. 6-0, though lazy, it is very, very impressive. And so that's why you hear it all the time. But before Michael Jordan even played an NBA game, some people called him the greatest player they've ever seen. By 89.
To pick the 3 or 4 best athletes I've ever seen play basketball, he'd be one of them. I think he's the best athlete I've ever seen play basketball. People with the best ability I'd ever seen play the game, he'd be one of them. If I'm going to pick the best competitors that I'd ever seen play, he'd be one of them. So in the categories of competitiveness, ability, skill, and then athletic ability, he's the best athlete, he's one of the best competitors, he's one of the most skilled players, and that to me makes him the best basketball player that I've ever seen play.
Isaiah Thomas in an interview was asked, describe Michael Jordan in one word, and he said, the greatest.
In the league, and you just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Michael Jordan, the best. Magic Johnson is my friend, Irvin. Absolutely. He's by far one of the best to ever pick up a basketball. But I tell you, this dude there, yeah. But this guy, you can't stop him. His skills are so unbelievable. In terms of his quickness, his strength, his jumping ability, his touch, and also his knowledge and understanding for the game. He by far, is the best I've ever seen. And Irvin's my boy, but, Air, yeah. Something else. Yeah. He real sweet. Yeah. I mean, the dude, you see what he be doing? Yeah.
In the 1993 finals, before Michael Jordan won his third championship, Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson were asked who was the greatest player of all time and to describe Michael Jordan. Both of them, ton of praise for Michael Jordan. Both of them calling him the greatest player of all time. Both of them saying that, well, Magic Johnson, the thing about that was Magic Johnson says Michael Jordan is even better than Kareem. He's basically saying that. And he says that the Lakers would have beaten the Bulls because of a guy like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So you see here, Magic Johnson is able to realize, okay, the Lakers team would probably beat these Bulls teams, but the best player playing is Michael Jordan. And Isaiah Thomas had a similar feeling about that as well. Now, obviously, things changed, and I guess between their friendship or whatnot, and Isaiah Thomas is a full-on hater. But these are caught on camera, caught on tape. Isaiah Thomas fanning out for Michael Jordan, really. Him and Magic Johnson both saying if Michael Jordan's teams were as good as their teams, Michael Jordan would have beaten them. And that's high praise. And again, Magic Johnson saying Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time, while Kareem was his teammate. You got to put that in context.
Well, the Bulls certainly are one of the great teams of all time and belong in the conversation. You believe your Laker champions of, let's say, 85 or 87, both teams beat the Celtics in the finals. Either one of them could beat these Bulls.
Well, because we had more weapons. I think that what happens sometimes, the Bulls rely on Michael too much. And what I was saying, that if you get me in foul trouble and get Michael in foul trouble, take us both out, you would see what would happen. Our team would dominate them. I mean, who's going to stop Kareem? And we had so many more weapons. It's just we would beat them.
Isaiah, your thoughts on your Piston teams that won back-to-back before the Chicago Bulls beat you in a sweep in the Eastern Conference Finals in 1991, and that started them on the road to their first of two in a row, now verging on three. Could the best of those Pistons clubs beat these Chicago Bulls?
Well, I think it would have been a very interesting games in terms of matchups. I think the thing that really hurt us, if you remember, after we won our first championship, was expansion, and we lost Ricky Mahorn, and we weren't able to do a couple of other things that we wanted to do with the draft and everything else. So it would have been interesting to see how well our team would have fared against this Bulls team. But, when you're talking about this Bulls team, you're really only talking about Michael Jordan, and, you can't really say that, our team would have beat him or the Lakers team would have beat him, because nobody really has found out a way to stop this guy. Now, sure, yeah, if you take Michael away and you take Magic away and you take me away and you take Michael away, yeah, then our teams are better. But the fact is, he's still there.
Going back to Olajuwon, I put him over a guy like Shaq easily. And if we're just counting rings, okay, if we're going to say Shaq has 4 rings, we could also say, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant. Olajuwon never played with a talent like that, 1. 2, the actual supporting cast you could argue was better. 3, Shaq, when he won those titles, the big man competition wasn't there. At least not to the extent of the 90s when Olajuwon was winning his championships and actually beat Shaq when it mattered the most. I'll get into Olajuwon and teaming up with Kobe and all that stuff later, as I'll look to defend Olajuwon in my next video, in a special what if video. But here's my question. Say Giannis only has 1 championship, he ends his career with 1 championship, maybe 2, I guess, but somewhere in that ballpark, maybe keeps the 1, and then give him like a dream scenario. So maybe he makes the finals, maybe he has like these crazy stat lines, a quintuple double, quadruple double, posts 2 of them, he has like some really crazy playoff performances, whatever scenario you want, and ask yourself, could Giannis, with whatever you add to him and only 1 championship, can he surpass a player like Tim Duncan as the greatest power forward of all time in your eyes? Comment your opinions down below on that one. And I have another fun question. Is a player like Scottie Pippen automatically better than a player like Domonique because he has 6 championships? Even though, for the most part, Scottie Pippen was just there for the ride on the Michael Jordan experience. It's a tough battle, I get it, but you guys let me know in the comments below. So long.